Welcome back to our community cafe. The word anti-corruption has become almost synonymous with the name Anna Hazare, at least speaking about in the Indian context. About a year ago, Anna Hazare, a veteran social activist, spearheaded a nationwide movement against the corrupt politicians and bureaucrats in India, and also demanded greater scrutiny and accountability for public officials for a bill which is popularly known as the Jan Lokpal Bill. Half a year on, where do we stand on the Jan Lokpal Bill, or more importantly, where does India stand on corruption? To shed light on this, we are today talking to Ashish Monga from Read Initiative. Ashish has been a very active supporter of India's anti-corruption campaign in the UK, and he would like to share his thoughts on this topic today with us. So very warm welcome to you, Ashish.
Thank you.
I would like to start by asking, what's happening with the bill now? What's the status?
Well, there are two parts to it. One is the parliament. So in parliament, as in UK, in India, we have a lower house and the upper house. So the government's version of the bill got passed in the lower house on 27 December. On 29 December 2011, it was presented into the upper house, but because government didn't have the numbers and the courage, so they withdrew the bill from there. So technically, the bill is again planned to coming in the budget session, which is happening from mid of the March. But of course, the government's version of bill is actually totally toothless. The government's version of Lokpal has no investigative powers, which means it's another advisory body as many other advisory bodies India has. So it's actually totally ineffectual and people are opposing it. Now, a lot can happen between now and March, so we don't know the government's intention yet, which we will see once the budget session starts. On the people's side, the Anna Hazare's team is actually campaigning all over the states which are having election. They are building, as I look at it from far away, I look at it that they are building small islands of supporters throughout the state where the elections are happening. They are talking about the corruption, they are talking about what kind of people we should vote for. And the hope is, one is people will be more aware of what kind of candidates they want, and also the ground level support is built for the next movement, as and when government builds the next version of the bill. I'm sure it will not be the one which people want. So once the support structure is built, I think in mid of March or maybe towards the mid of the year, there will be next campaign, and a lot of people will come back again to talk about it.
Well, that's great, because clearly the bill in the parliament is not making great headways, but Anna Hazare is clearly diversifying his strategies to checkmate the corrupt politicians. That brings me actually quite nicely to the next question. So what do you think, does this bill, or does the anti-corruption movement, which we popularly call as the Arab Spring of India, does this enjoy the same kind of public trust or support as it enjoyed probably a year ago?
Yes, it does enjoy the same kind of trust. The only thing difference is, initially people were overjoyed. They thought that it can happen instantly, and they had very high unrealistic expectations. But as most of people know, with any kind of government dealings, it takes a lot of patience and courage to get things done. Now, the way I see the Indian corruption movement, they are not just talking about Lokpal, they are setting structures within small areas of the India on how people can fight corruption locally. And once people start realizing the value of it, once they see the benefits of fighting and getting things done in clear fashion, the trust actually is building. And I'm hopeful that as and when movement becomes big again, a lot of people will be back fighting for it.
And I mean, talking about corruption, I think no country is spared in the world from this social disease, so to say. So what do you think, how deeply is it rooted in India? Because in India it's like almost become all pervasive, it's pervading all life, I mean all aspects of our life. So how do you think, how deeply it is rooted, and what about the individual accountability, or what can we do on an individual level?
Well, personally speaking, I think a lot of Indians are just resigned to the fact that everybody is corrupt. We just brand the whole bureaucracy, the whole administration, the whole list of parliament and the MPs and MLAs as corrupt, which is not entirely true. A lot of those are not corrupt, but because of the prevailing structure, the prevailing norms, they just are resigned to the fact that that's the way it works. But I'm sure if you really take action, if people are courageous, they take themselves accountable, and of course they can use the tools like RTA, which is a very wonderful tool to tackle government corruption. They can get things done without corrupting anyone. I personally got driving license without having to pay any bribe. I went for the test, I gave the test and got cleared. A lot of my friends didn't do that, when I'm sure you will have also have personal stories where things happen because you took the stand and the government and the employees and the government department just make things done. So can you
I
share
think
something?
that's a very important point, because I think a similar thing happened to me when I was applying for a new passport. There was this enormous pressure from my family members to give the bribe to the local policeman so that my passport would be issued quite quickly. But I chose not to do that, because I was prepared to pay the price. I said, okay, maybe I will not receive the passport in next 6 months or 1 year, but I was prepared for that, and I didn't pay the bribe to the policeman, though he asked for me for that. And I still received my passport within a week. So people have branded me like, and they have been calling me lucky, but I don't really take this as a compliment, because I think you can at least give it a go and try at an individual level. And it's as you said, it's not everybody is corrupt. So if you are prepared to make that, however small sacrifice that is, things will work without corruption. But I see that you have taken this top-down approach, that it's not only that you have to be prepared on an individual level, but it's also because the system needs to change, so that there is a pressure from top to and it will percolate down, and so that it will basically lead to a better vigilance system.
Yeah, I think you have to think about that the system needs strong deterrent. The same people from Indian subcontinent, when they are in UK, they behave impeccably well on the streets, but the same people, same person back home doesn't behave that way, because they know there is no deterrence in place. If the deterrence is in place, if the policies are clear and they know they can't have a way out, I'm sure people will follow the process. So it's both people and the strong system in place will together create a strong anti-corruption India.
And that brings us basically to our last point. So what do you think individuals here in the UK can do to work towards the anti-corruption campaign in India? How can they support it?
Well, I think there are various ways. One is they can promote ethical tourism. So once they go to India, or any of their friends or relatives go to India, they should try to work with ethical companies. They should try to take their tours with ethical companies. When they are back in India, they should make a vow not to give bribe to any local tourist guide or any other local official. They can use the tools of modern communication like Facebook, Twitter to share stories, to share the experience like you shared, not just of the successes but also of failures, because there will be cases where they have no way out, they have to pay. But if they share about it, they talk about it, things are more open, and that also gives encouragement to their friends and family back home on how they can do things. And they can also share how things get done in UK, because the same things at a local ground level, in a local policy making of a village or a locality or a city, these things can be replicated there. And one last thing I would say, there is a strong India against corruption movement in Great Britain. The ICGB group on the Facebook, we had campaigned a lot during the Anna's movement in India, and I think they plan to continue doing this year as well. There will be events, there will be talks or various things planned for this year as well. So people want to really contribute from here. On the movement itself, they can look on the ICGB Facebook website and contribute that way. But again, I think it's more important just to be aware and tell everyone and be up to date on what's happening.
Well, thank you very much. That's, I think, a very positive note to end this interview, and all the best for the movement. And you can always keep yourself updated with what happens next, not only in anti-corruption but also all other happenings in India. Just visit our website, that is gyanayatra.affp.org.uk. Thank you.